Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and we have a serial podcaster on today, and I hope you guys will really enjoy this. You might actually learn something too. But before we get started and I introduce Hershey to you guys, I want to remind you to go over to www.promoteprofitpublishquiz.com. Find out if you're really ready to publish, or do you have some areas you need to spruce up before you jump in and bring your content out to the world. Also, don't forget to go over to Superbrand Publishing, our YouTube channel. Every single interview we have here, we have over there on video. So if you like to consume this in video, you'll be notified when we have a new episode. So go over there and subscribe. So today's guest is Mark Herschberg. He likes to be called Hershey. And from tracking criminals and terrorists on the dark web to creating marketplaces and new authentication systems, Mark has spent his career launching and developing new ventures at startups and Fortune 500s and in academia. He helped to start the undergraduate practice opportunities program dubbed MIT's Career Success Accelerator, where he teaches annually. At MIT, he received a BS in physics, a BS in electrical engineering and computer science, and an M engineering, that's a master's of engineering, right?
Yes.
In electrical engineering and computer science, focusing on cryptography. At Harvard Business School, Mark helped create a platform used to teach finance and prominent business schools. He also works with many nonprofits, including Techie Youth and Plant a Million Corals. He is one of the top-ranked ballroom dancers in the country. Woo, that sounds interesting. And now lives in New York City, where he lives next to an apartment that's being renovated. So if you hear funny noises, just ignore them. He's also known for his social gatherings, including his annual Halloween party and his diverse cufflink collection. Wow, you sound really interesting. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here.
So tell me about the Halloween party. I'm such a Halloween. That's one of my favorite holidays.
I unfortunately missed it last year and this year, but I have been doing Halloween parties for over 2 decades. I require everyone to dress up. We do a costume contest at midnight. And despite having a 1-bedroom in New York City, I have a few boxes full of Halloween supplies. I'm giving up some of my very limited closet space to store Halloween decorations so I can have a well-decorated Halloween party each and every year.
That is so awesome. I love that. So I'm talking to you today because you came to my attention through Tracy Hazard as a serial podcast guest. And I think you have so much to add to our audience here. So first of all, tell us about the book right behind your head and why you wrote it.
I've been teaching at the Career Success Accelerator at MIT for 20 some years. These are the skills that we know help someone become successful. After teaching for years, I said, we really need to expand this to other people. These skills are not just for MIT students, but we never had time to do that. So I thought I was going to write up some notes for the class that would help the students. It's a very interactive class. So I don't take notes, and maybe share them online. But 20 pages of writing quickly became 40, became 80. And once it passed 100, I said, I think I have a book here. So I reached out to my friend Juliet Clark, who is a best-selling business author, got a lot of advice from her, and decided to go forward and create the book.
Oh, I love her. I interviewed her on Ask Juliet. She was one of my first interviews back in, I think, 2015. It's amazing. So good for you reaching out and getting her help. She doesn't live in the apartment next door, does she?
She does not. She's a little further downtown.
Okay. All right. Just making sure she's not your neighbor. That would be awesome if she was. But okay. So you wrote the book, and then you're really a CTO by trade. So did you plan on going out and promoting it as widely as you did? Or, what brought all of the podcasting into focus?
As you note, I am a CTO, a Chief Technology Officer. I build tech startup companies. The teaching at MIT and other places, that's just been a side hobby for fun, and the book falls into that vein. But I know from doing tech startups, one of the rules in tech startups, good marketing of bad technology will beat out bad marketing of good technology. We see time and again, going back to the famous VHS versus Betamax. Technically speaking, Betamax was stronger, but VHS won out. And there's a great book, In Search of Stupidity, 20 Years of High-Tech Marketing Disasters, that really spells out time and again how good marketing won. When I had dinner with Dory and she gave me advice, one of the things she said was for her next book, which just came out, she was going to be on 150 podcasts. So I said, okay, that's my goal too. I want to get at least 150 podcasts. Now, she has a big name. She had 4 best-selling books before her 5th one right now. I didn't have any of that, but I said, I don't care. I'm going to figure out how to do this.
That is amazing. So you guys, what was really amazing is when Tracy referred him to me, he sent out his materials. He had the best media kit that I have seen in all my time from an author, especially a first-time author. So tell me about, how did you put that together and what did you put in it and why did you put the things you put in it?
There's no great secret here. Having done marketing, despite being a CTO, I've done a lot of marketing as well. I've been at marketing companies. It's a pretty standard media kit. It has all the resources and answers questions someone might need, right? Because you are selling yourself to the podcaster. And whenever you do sales, you always think, what are the needs? What are the objections? And what can I do to meet the needs and overcome the objections? So everything I can do to make your job easier as a podcast host increases my odds of getting on your show. So what do you need in this kit? It starts with just that first page has to have an overview. It's got a quick summary of the book. It has an image of the book. It's got my name and the title up top. It's got basic information like release date and price point and a URL. And there's just the quick, okay, let me look at this. Because if I pitched, I have a career and professional development book. If I pitch it to a romance podcast, they can look and go, yeah, no, this doesn't work. Right? So you need that one page just to kind of start, is this category fit? Then you need a page that has your bio. It has a picture of me, my headshot. So you can always just pull the headshot right out of the media kit. And then it has my bio. Some people, by the way, I have just one bio. Some people might have 2 or 3 in there, the short, the medium, the long, because different podcasters, some say, oh, give me your 50-word bio, give me up to 100 words, give me whatever. So you might have a couple different versions. I have a bio, just one, or you can always just chop off some of those things at the end or cut out pieces that don't work. Then I've got a couple basic questions in there. And so these are questions to give you a sense of what you can ask me, so you have a sense of where we can take the show. Now, I have a second kit that we'll probably talk about, and there's a reason I just pulled out into the second one. Then I've got a special piece that what makes my book unique. I have a page that goes into the app that goes with my book. I've seen other people that talk about, here's something unique with the book that they're doing, some type of promotion, some type of contest, just something that's, hey, this is kind of interesting. And then on the last page of my media kit, I have the social proof. These are the quotes. This is someone talking about how awesome the book is, how knowledgeable you are, just something showing, like, it's not just my mom who says I'm great. There's actually other people who are less biased too, even though we know often they're friends or people in your network who have some bias as well. So you want that overview and then some basic tools to help the podcaster put you on the show.
That is amazing. So when you said that about some of those people are your friends, did you go after, like, did you ask Dory Clark? She's a pretty big name. I would love to see that on there. Did you go for influencers or just friends or mixture of both? What would you recommend to people?
I'm not great at this aspect. I asked about 30 people. Now, because of my career and my education and my network, I was able to reach out to some CEOs and some big names, many of whom were busy and they just didn't have time. And I honestly did that a little last minute. I did have some great people who gave me great quotes. One of them, for example, Olivia Fox-Caban, who wrote the best-selling The Charisma Myth. She's a personal friend. She gave me a quote. I had an executive from GE who I've known for many years. So I had some good names. Another friend of mine, he has a leadership book and he went out and sought these folks. He got 50 big names all backing his book. And he put a lot more effort into it. I'm not sure if that really helped with the sales or not, though.
Interesting that you said that about, did it help or did it not help? So you put this all together. how did you pitch these podcasts? First of all, how did you choose which podcasts? Did you listen to them? Did you go in informed before you pitched?
Yeah, there's a couple things I did. I generated lists of podcasts I wanted to target, right? Because you don't want to pitch the relationship podcast with a business book. Don't waste their time. Be respectful. I know as an executive, I have salespeople all the time saying, hey, you should buy this software. It's going to make your life great. Well, I don't need this software and you didn't do your research. You wasted my time. So first, okay, am I not wasting your time? Doesn't mean everyone will take me, but am I at least in category? This is a complete waste of their time.
Okay.
Then I would look up, well, do they take guests? That's a very important thing. Not all podcasts take guests. So after I found them, I would look, okay, do they take guests? Are they active? Because many podcasts die out after a while, right? Some, they just stop recording, maybe after a couple hundred episodes. Lots of them stop recording after 6, 8, 10 episodes because they were excited to do it, especially during the pandemic, right? Oh, I'm home. I'm going to do a podcast. And just like books require a lot of marketing, writing is half of it. And then you got to market what you wrote. Podcasts as well. You can get people on the show, but you have to market the podcast. And a lot of them don't realize you have to put that effort in. So the podcast dies out quickly. So is the podcast still active? And note, by the way, some podcasts have seasons. They might not put a new episode for the past 3 months. But if I see, oh, that was season 3, okay, 3 seasons, there's probably going to be a season 4. They're just taking a break. So if it's active and they take guests and it's in category, then I'm going to try and listen to some podcasts. Now, I'm going to be honest here. A lot of podcasters, some of them even in their forums, which episode did you listen to or which was your favorite podcast? And I write them off, say, look, I didn't listen to a bunch of your episodes. I didn't even listen to a whole episode. I listened to parts from a few different ones to get a sense of what it's like. Mm-hmm. But I'm not saying there, I'm not a fan, right? I'm not, oh, I've been listening to you, long-time listener, first-time guest. No, some of them will want that, but I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend to be what I'm not. But as long as I know the style and that this fits into their podcast, I'm the right guest and the style works for me, then I'm going to reach out. And I've got my introductory email and I attach my media and interview kits.
Yes. And if you guys saw it, you would definitely look at his kit because most of the inquiries I get have no kit. They're introductions from publicists, which actually surprises me that there is no kit and there is no, I could actually go back and ask the publicist, how many have you listened to, which is a big fat 0 most of the time. So that's sort of something to be aware of when you hire a publicist for this is, are they actually engaging the podcaster in the right way to get you on? So you did this and you got, how many were you on? I heard a number, I think over 200. Did you beat Juliet Clark?
I think I've beaten Juliet Clark. She might have more in her lifetime. Okay. Because she's obviously been doing this for years. I've been doing this for less than 1 year at this point. But for within the past 12 months, it's been 200 recorded so far. About 160 or so are live because some are recorded, not yet out. So at the time of this recording, 160 live, 200 some recorded. I've got about another 40 or 50 in queue where we're scheduled or in the process of scheduling to have me come on.
That is so amazing. So let's jump to the end. After it's done, do these people ask you to promote? And do you promote? Do they ever say, hey, Mark, how are you going to promote this? Because this needs to be a win-win relationship.
They always ask that. And that's exactly right. You have to recognize there are multiple value propositions here. Now, first and foremost, on every single podcast, the value is for the audience. And if you don't go in with that mindset, it's not going to be a good episode for you, for the host, or for the audience. I don't say, oh, and by the way, here's my book. And have you looked at my book? Yeah, it's behind my shoulder. So for the video ones, great. It's there. It's not subtle. We all know why it's there. But I'm not saying buy the book, buy the book, buy the book. At the end, They'll typically say, by the way, where can people get in touch with you? And you give the URL. But so first and foremost, before we even get to promotion, it is about creating value for the audience. Does what you have to say generate value for the listeners? Now, once you've done that, you're coming on the show. You do also have to create value for the host. The value for you, of course, is, hey, a lot of people just heard about my book, my business, whatever it is that you do have to offer. But that host wants something too. And for most podcasters, they want to expand their audience, expand their reach, just like you do. So they will ask you to promote it. What I do is two things. First, it goes immediately up on my website. So on my website, there's a page called Media, and every podcast I've ever done is linked from there. But then I will promote on social media. Now, the third thing most people do is they send to their email list. I don't really have an active email list. I haven't pushed to grow it. I don't really send to it. So I don't do that there, but I do promote on social media. And by the way, there are great tools. I use a tool called Later, but there's Canva, there's Buffer, there's a whole bunch of others. There's literally like 24 you can look at. And with this tool, what I do is I grab an image. So very typically, I can grab the logo, or many podcasters will give you some assets. They might take a screenshot, or they might have, here's a logo with your face on it and your title. But whether I use that, which they give me, which is always appreciated, or I just pull down their logo, I then go to this tool, I drop in that as the image, and I write the text, hey, I had a great conversation on this show about this. Here's a URL, add some hashtags. And using this tool, I can cross-post to multiple social media channels at once. And so even though, certainly for what I do, LinkedIn is the big channel. It is a business book. That's where people go. But there's no extra effort to also take that same post and have it go on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok, although I don't happen to do TikTok. But you can cross-promote to multiple ones for a pretty low monthly fee.
Yes, yeah, you do. And I use Social Bee for pretty much the same thing, even though I'm never on Facebook or Instagram. And I think I'm a little old for TikTok. So tell us about over on your website. Did you put links over there, or do you have, I know my friend Scott Carson has a beautiful page where he puts the cover, you click on the cover and you can go right into the link to where they can see it at. How do you put it over there?
Some people even give you embed links so you can play it right from your site.
That's true. That's very true.
But since not everyone does that, I wanted a consistent experience. So just on my site, they're just listed as tiles, and you can see the image and the title. And then you just go and you click, and that will open up a new tab or page and take you right to where it is.
That's so cool. So you guys listening, in addition to that media kit, people can go over to his website and they can click on something. So let's say that I get his media kit in the mail, in my email. I go over, I look at his website and I see it. I can actually click and see what kind of guest he's going to be. Did he show up, with his hair messed up and a t-shirt? Did he, how credible was he? Did he speak well? That all of those types of things when you are ferreting out whether this person's going to be a good guest or not. So it's an additional place for people to find out how much of an influencer you are. And at over 200 podcasts, I'd say at this point, you are an influencer.
Certainly, it gives me some social proof now. Well, if 200 people had you on, you can't be a complete idiot.
Exactly. And I'm going to tell you the best part of having him on. I actively go out and I look for guests. So I don't typically take someone who sends me the materials unless it looks really interesting, because most of them aren't. Mark came to me as a referral. And that's always what you want, is to have somebody who had a podcaster who had an experience, who will tell someone else, you know what, this guy was great. He needs to be on your show. So kudos to you for that. And I bet there was a lot of that going on as you went, because you're obviously a good guest.
There is. First, let me note, the other thing is, having links, even early on, you might say, look, I'm going to go on any podcast that will take me. And I was willing to do this early on because I'd get a couple of those clips. I'd get the links online so you can go and check me out. How does he sound? How does he look? And if you present well, I fortunately have had a lot of speaking training. And if you have as well, and you feel comfortable and this works for you, great, that's going to help sell you. So don't worry if some of those early ones are tiny. So, their audience, some of my podcasts, they've had upwards of 10 people listening, but then some of them 10,000 plus people listen. And so getting on some of those early ones, it just gives you that credibility. Someone's had you on and they can check you out. How are you on the podcast? Do you sound coherent? Do you just stutter? And do you say a lot? that's what they're going to look for, though many podcasters do edit that out. Now, to your point about referrals, there's 2 questions I ask at the end of each podcast. So after the recording goes off, the lights go off, and we're just chatting afterwards. Because, of course, before and after, you get to know that podcast host. You get to build a relationship, and that helps your network. There's 2 questions I always ask. And the first one I ask is, thank you. It's been great being on your show. Are there any other guests who you might be looking for? Because I happen to know a number of other authors, people like Dory, as well as other authors, other professors, other entrepreneurs, people interested in being on podcasts. And if you're looking for those people, the fact that I did a good job, there's some of that credibility that, if Mark says this person's good, at least this person's worth checking out. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I asked, who are you looking for in terms of guests? I have a set list of guests. I've got about 10 people. Now, I won't necessarily send you all 10 because you say, I'm looking for entrepreneurs. You get these 3, copy, paste, delete the non-entrepreneurs. Looking for authors, copy, paste, delete the non-authors, right? So whoever you're telling me, copy, paste, and then I select the ones that are right for you. So I'm happy to help you, happy to help my friends. Then the second question, and by the way, my friends, I've taught them this trick. Guess what? When they go on podcasts, they ask that too. Who do you think they refer? That gets me on more podcasts. Then the second question, do you know any other podcasters for whom I might be a good guest? Because if I just impressed you, many podcasters know other podcasters. And so just as Tracy referred me to you, Tracy thought I was a good guest. She's a wonderful host. I love doing her show. And she kindly introduced me to you. And very often a podcast I do will lead to another podcast. And that's how I just keep it going.
Yeah, that is very, very true. So how do we find you, our serial entrepreneurial podcast guest?
You can go to my website, thecareertoolkitbook.com, and there you can learn more about the book. You can reach out to me, follow me on social media, download the app, which is available from the Android and iPhone stores. Go to the resources page. There's a whole bunch of things on there, all of which is at thecareertoolkitbook.com.
Thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me on the show.